Hi, I'm Christian Triola, author of the Missing Method for Guitar books. And in this, Reading the Riff number 10, I'm going to show you how to read and play AC/DC's Hell's Bells in two different ways. Before we get started, make sure you download the PDF. It's got everything you need to practice playing Hell's Bells, and in both ways that I'm going to show you today. Also, make sure you go over to themissingmethod.com, and once you're there, if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get a free ebook, so don't forget about that. All right, now let's get started with Reading the Riff number 10. So let's take a look at Hell's Bells. It's one of AC/DC's most well-known songs. I mean, they've got a lot of well-known songs, but this is one of them, definitely. And one of my favorites, and probably the first AC/DC song I ever learned how to play. Now, when I learned it kind of like I'll show in the alternate version rather than the actual way that it's played. So we're going to start off with the actual way first. Now, it's from their arguably most famous album, Back in Black, that came out in July of 1980. It was the band's 7th studio album and was the first album with their new singer, Brian Johnson, after, of course, Bon Scott had died the year before. The album itself was a tribute to Bon Scott and also a way forward, showing everybody that just because Bon Scott's dead doesn't mean AC/DC is over. And for some, this is where AC/DC really got started. It just depends on who you ask. The song itself, Hell's Bells, was released as a single on Halloween Day 1980. So that's kind of cool. I always love Halloween. So now let's take a closer look. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach playing this. It starts off on a low A, goes up to a high E, down to the A in the middle, and then the D. So you could play this whole thing in open position here. However, that's not the way that they approach it. Instead, they're kind of playing it up here in the middle, kind of 5th position, creeping into 9th position a little bit. So, to start off, we play the 5th string open, jump up to the 9th fret on the 3rd string. So that's the same as the open E. Then we go to the A here on the 7th fret, 4th string, 7th fret again on the 4th string, open. Then we drop back to the 5th fret of the 3rd string. So it sounds like this, open. Next thing is the 5th fret of the 4th string. Open 5th string, then up to the 7th fret with the 3rd finger. Then that 3rd finger comes over a string, 4th string, 7th fret. And then the last 2 notes are just the open 5th. Now I went through that kind of fast, so I'm going to go through one more time. Open 5th, 9th fret on the 3rd string, 7th fret 4th, 7th fret on the 3rd, back to 7th fret 4th, open 5th, 5th fret on the 3rd string, 5th fret on the 4th string, open 5th, back to the 7th fret on the 3rd string, 7th fret on the 4th string, and then open twice on the 5th string. So if you need to, nothing wrong with rewinding that and watching that over so you can build that up. Again, it's on the PDF, so that makes it a little bit easier to learn that. So you do that to start off the riff. Now I kind of accidentally went into the next measure. It's just like the first measure, except that open first note doesn't fall on the beat. It actually happens in the measure before, so you've kind of already played it. So again, 9, 7, 7, 7 on the 4th string, open 5th, back to the 5th fret of the 3rd string. In the last measure of the riff, we have 5th fret, 4th string, open 5th, 7th fret on the 3rd string, and then we have 2 power chords that end it. We have the C5 power chord. Now this time we're going to play with the pinky on the 5th fret of the 4th string and the middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. And that way you can keep that pinky down, move the middle finger off, put the index finger down to play the 2nd fret, and then you have the open 5th string. And all together, that creates the main riff that goes throughout Hell's Bells. So here it is again, from the beginning. And then that, of course, is repeated over and over again. In fact, the next line is just an exact repeat of that. And you do that essentially 10 times through the whole thing, or like it says on the PDF, 5 times twice. Same thing, right? Okay, now that's not the only part of the song, though. That's just the main riff. That's the focus of this Reading the Riff. But we're going to take a look at a couple extra parts just for fun. So there's a transition part that takes us from that riff into the next riff. So it's almost the same from what we already did. You have open, which comes in the measure before, 9 on the 3rd, 7/7 on 4 to 3 strings, back to the 5, 5 on the 4, open 5th, 7 on the 3rd, then 7 on the 4th, 2, 5. So it's what we've done before. Then it comes up to the 9th fret on the 3rd string, 7th fret on the 4th string, 7th fret on the 3rd string. After that, that's where it starts to change. We have 7th fret on the 4th string, 5th string open, and then we have a G chord. So for this G chord, your middle finger is on the last string 3rd fret, your 3rd finger is on the 2nd string 3rd fret, and you lean your middle finger over so it deadens that 5th string. And you have play it once, holds over, play it 2 more times as an up-down, and then you switch to a D5 power chord, which is basically a D chord, but without the 1st string. So you don't play the 1st string at all. So that whole chord section is this. And then we have 3 notes that lead us into the next riff. 5th string 3rd fret, 5th string 2nd fret, open. So here's the whole transition section. And then it leads you into the next part. Now the next part I'm going to go over briefly just because it is fun to play. So this is the 2nd riff. You come up here to fret 7 and 9. Your 1st finger is across the 7th fret on strings 3 and 4. Your 3rd finger goes on the 9th fret of string 3. Then you play that together, let go of the 3rd finger so you get the 2 7s, bring that 3rd finger back so it has this feeling of motion there. Then you play the 2 7s again. This time I'm using my 3rd finger to bar that. Go down to the 5th fret, same 2 strings, back to the 7. So all together. Then you play the 5th string open, C5, and then 1st finger on the note B, 2nd fret, plus that pinky is still held in place, like that. And then, of course, you just repeat that. So here it is again. And there you go. Now, like I mentioned earlier in this video, there is an alternate way of playing that opening riff that we're going to take a look at now. So instead of playing it up here, we're going to read it in open position. So we have the note A, E, A, D. So I have what kind of looks like a D major chord, but without anything on the first string. Then we go to the A again, low A, C now. So I move this third finger off and put the first one down on the note C, all together. And that last part is the same as before, where you have those. Now you might notice on the PDF, I don't have that first finger on that E note. I don't have that finger down on the PDF, but you can play that. I like it because it kind of fills out that sound a little bit. So just to recap that, I kind of went over it fast there. And here's the alternate way of playing Hell's Bells. And then, of course, it would go into the next thing. All right, so you can see it's a little bit difficult to get those ending chords with this voicing, with this section. So if you want to play it the actual way, that's how I showed you at first. The other way is just a good way of practicing reading those notes, so I recommend doing that. And of course, if you want to get even better at note reading, I'd recommend the Missing Method for Guitar Note Reading series. We have book 1 here, the 2nd edition, it's updated. And in it, it shows you how to read in every key in open position, just meaning from the open string up to the 4th fret. So you'll be able to play a lot of stuff just with that. The rest of the series covers the rest of the neck, one book at a time. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. I always appreciate it when people do that. Don't forget to check out themissingmethod.com and sign up for that newsletter and free ebook. Now go ahead and get to practicing, and I will see you in the next video.